The woman who cleaned our house every week left a note saying, "Check your daughter's bedroom for cameras. I'm so sorry. I'm leaving the state." I found the note tucked inside our mail slot when I got home from work on a Friday evening. The handwriting was shaky, rushed, nothing like the careful block letters Maria usually used on her weekly cleaning checklists. My wife Claire was still at her hospital shift, and my daughter Sophia was at soccer practice. The house was empty and quiet as I stood in our entryway reading those words over and over, trying to make them mean something other than what they clearly said. Maria had cleaned our house every Wednesday for 3 years. She was punctual, thorough, trustworthy. We'd given her a key after the first month. She knew where we kept everything, had access to every room, every drawer, every closet. The note was dated today, with a timestamp of 1:30 p.m., about 4 hours ago. My hands were shaking as I pulled out my phone and called Maria's number. It went straight to voicemail. I called again. Same result. The voicemail greeting was her voice, professional and warm, asking callers to leave a message. I didn't leave one because I didn't know what to say. I went upstairs to Sophia's bedroom, my heart pounding so hard I could hear blood rushing in my ears. The room looked exactly as it always did after Maria cleaned. Bed made with the purple comforter Sophia loved, stuffed animals arranged neatly on the window seat, desk organized with homework folders and art supplies, everything normal. I started checking the obvious places first. The smoke detector mounted on the ceiling near her closet. I pulled a chair over and carefully unscrewed the cover. Inside was just the standard battery and sensor mechanism. I checked the digital alarm clock on her nightstand, turning it over to examine the back panel. Nothing unusual. The decorative picture frames on her dresser, the small bookshelf speakers we'd bought her for listening to music, the outlet covers. I was pulling apart her room systematically and finding nothing, which somehow made everything worse. If Maria was wrong, if this was some kind of mistake or paranoid delusion, why would she run? Why leave a note instead of calling? Why apologize? I checked the air vent cover, removing the screws with a Phillips head from Sophia's desk drawer. Behind the grate was just ductwork and dust. I was about to give up when I noticed the stuffed unicorn on her bed, the large one she'd gotten for her 10th birthday 2 years ago. It sat propped against her pillows, its glassy eyes pointed toward the center of the room. Something about those eyes made me pause. I picked up the unicorn and examined it closely. The eyes were black plastic with a slight sheen, standard for stuffed animals, but when I held it at a certain angle, I could see a tiny pinhole in the center of the right eye's pupil. My stomach dropped. I turned the unicorn over and found a small seam in the back that had been carefully restitched with thread that almost matched, but not quite. The stitching was professional, nearly invisible, but once I looked for it, I could see where the original seam had been opened and closed. My hands trembled as I carefully pulled the stitches apart and reached inside the stuffing. The camera was small, maybe the size of a thumb drive, with a lens that aligned perfectly with the eye hole. It was connected to a battery pack and what looked like a wireless transmitter, all nestled in a hollow space carved out of the stuffing. The device was still warm, which meant it was active and recording. I pulled everything out and set it on Sophia's desk, staring at this thing that had been watching my daughter sleep, change clothes, do homework, live her private life in what should have been her safe space. I felt physically sick. Who had put this here? How long had it been there? What had they seen? What had they recorded? And I suddenly remembered who gifted this unicorn that made me sick to my stomach. To see the full story, click the link below or go on my channel.